Uh, Go.
Hey, my name is Ramon Ray, founder of smarthustle.com. And the best advice I think that I give people is really one of two things: to ask for a smile before you ask for a sale. And that's part of a concept that many of you know, but few of us do all the time or long enough. And that's all part of the aspect of building community, community to community, and then nurturing people to a purchase. So that's the best advice that I give people. Ask for a smile before you ask for a sale. And I'm on with Phil Gribishak.
Dude, Ramon, I've heard you say something similar to that, but that is super succinct and makes so much sense, right? Ask for a smile before you ask for a sale, because you want to make people happy before you try to reach in their pockets. You want to try to connect with them. I love that, man. So how did you figure that out? How did that start making sense to you?
Yeah, sure. I think that two things, of course, that, many of us, we get it from who's Michael Gerber, and it goes back to who's the famous Zig Ziglar. So like Damon John says, very few of the knowledge any of us has did we wake up with original. We just morph it and chew it from others. So I want to give credit to the fathers of marketing who I'm sure put that into me. But I think for myself, Phil, I just realized that, and I don't know why, Phil, I feel myself getting ready to cry. I don't know why. I've cried so much this week, but I cry easily. But I guess it's Phil realizing that even though, and I say this honestly, some people think I'm saying it like self-deprecating, I think is the English word, but I don't see myself as the smartest guy, the numbers, the strategy and all that. I just hired my son recently, by the way. He is a smart dude schooling me. We'll get to that later if you want. But the point is, what I'm trying to get at, I see that the small things I do of, hey, this is Ramon. That's a picture of doing IG stories, Facebook stories, just sharing, having fun. It's building community, building tribe. Some people follow X, some people follow Y, some people follow Phil, some people follow Ramon. If you get what I'm trying to say, I got my little community who love me for whatever reason. Oh, Ramon's having burnt pancakes. 10% of fun and just humor, but 90% business. But that's building the community. And from that, just a few people buy. And I'm blessed and our family is good. As you know, Phil, my book of business, just to educate people, most of it comes from working with very large brands who want to reach small businesses, brand ambassador, influencer marketing. You and I are both global speakers. So that business and then other things. So it works, Phil. So I think that's how I learned it, if that was too long of an answer.
Not too long at all, and that makes sense, right? And I would say you must have realized early on that you have enormous energy. Like, you really engulf the room in a good way. Like, I can tell you, man, you're one of those people that change the temperature when you walk in the room in a positive way. Yes. And that's true. I mean, we've been friends, God, 10, 15 years now, long time. And I think about that. And honestly, to your point, the first thing I think about Ramon is that big smile and that big energy. I felt you before I met you.
Yes.
Like, I remember, for real, man. Yeah, right. That was like, yeah,
either at an NSA event or when we
Chicago, baby. We're in SobCon, baby.
Yes,
okay. Yeah. Early SobCon, that's and right. I remember that. Right, you were kind of sitting off on the side as we walk in the room. You're that's on the left, and I think about that because you were the guy that I felt your presence, and that's not usual. Right, that's not usual, and that smile, man, that megawatt smile really lights stuff up, and it leads to business. And I think so many miss that, right? I mean, so many miss that, man. Just have a smile, man. Just unless you're like perpetually Scholar, if that's your brand, hey, God bless you. You're probably not working with anybody Ramon or I are, so you're probably not watching this. But if you're thinking, what do I got? You got to smile, right? Give it up. Like don't save those for people. I would say share a smile too before you ask for a sale.
Yes. Oh, and you're right, Phil. I mean, I think that people, listen, there's all kind of sales strategy, sales tactics, ways to do it. So Phil and I can mention probably he could mention the top 10 or different ways to do it. But to your point, if you ain't got nothing else, and doesn't this work, Phil, in all the movies? To your global audience, nothing against global, but the American movies with the terrorists and the U.S. military forces, usually if everything's going crazy and you're getting ready to be blown away, just, hey, how are you, so-and-so? And usually the terrorist puts their gun down or whatever it is. That's part of the example.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
or like I don't know if you watch any, World War II movies, Holocaust and those kind of movies, the Nazi and all this, it's like, hey, everybody, let's drink and have fun. The temperature goes down, lives are saved just by a laugh. So it works.
Yeah, well, and it connects, right? It connects us to others. It helps us see each other's humanity, which is really where business starts. And I would say that's also where you kind of jump off with your book, man, with the Celebrity CEO, because I'm reading through this and I'm like, you know what? The first thing that we have to give is our joy, right? Our energy, what we're passionate about, where we love from, not just some basic stuff. So Ramon, what was the genesis of writing The Celebrity CEO? Because it came out, what, 2018, 2019?
19, I believe, yes.
19? Yeah. So was this like a 15-year book in the making, or did you wake up and say, hey, this is something that I got to get out there?
Knowing Ramon, I probably just woke up and went, hey, someone have to get out there. Other people usually have British accents or whatever. And so I sat down with my children sipping tea, and I said, we have to do this. And 25 years later, after all, so that's not me, Phil. I'm like, yeah, those are good people though. But yeah, Phil, I think it was really going back to what we just talked about. I think that the concept that, and I must say, looking at some of our mutual friends or those names we all know, looking at the Garys of the world, I must say, in a good way, Seth, Grant, people who have these billion followings, and then all the pop culture people we all know, Kim Kardashian, Donald Trump, Barack Obama, Biden, whoever. My point being, they're celebrities who have X numbers of followers, whatever. But I'm like, you know what? Most people are not going to be either the business celebrities we all know, Jeff Bezos or whatever, and most people for sure, and hey, welcome Ben, most people for sure are not going to be, a global celebrity like Kim Kardashian. So what I'm trying to say is that, but I realize all of us can do the work to be a celebrity to our people. Phil has his tribe of people who know Phil, recognize his smile, how he frames himself physically, but also how Phil is emotionally. Same with me. And so I wanted to encourage every entrepreneur, every small business owner, Phil, yeah, we can look to whoever we look to and see we have on our bookshelves and other, et cetera, but that everybody can be either in their church, in their local community, as they go to their grocery store, in their small little town. They're the only accountant on that strip. People can say, hey, are you going by Jimmy's tonight for whatever? Does that kind of help why I did it, Phil? Sometimes I twist my words.
No, for sure. For sure it does, right? Being a celebrity is not capital C celebrity, to be sure, right? We're talking about little c celebrity. Yeah. We're talking about celebrity in your space. And right. Kevin Kelly, right? 100 true fans. If we think about that, I would bet that if you are a successful CEO, or you're thinking maybe you're going to make that leap, maybe you're going to move from corporate to your own business. Mm-hmm. If you probably have 100 true fans. People, right. Maybe they haven't bought your stuff, probably because you haven't offered them anything. Let's be clear, right? But that's probably why they haven't bought. But you have 100 people that love you, that support you, that encourage you, that offer you advice, sometimes unsolicited. That's okay, right? But offer you them. And so if we think about that, right, you're a celebrity to them. Maybe not to the world, right? But I think about, my little town. I mean, Ramon, you live in Jersey, man. I'm from little itty-bitty Crivets, Wisconsin, right? 996 people. And I bet there's probably, 50 people in that town besides my family that like me. Yeah. And that's enough to start.
Yes.
That's enough to start. So we have to go there. But that does not mean capital C celebrity. Holy crap, Phil's on The View today. No, stop. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about being a celebrity in your niche. So, Ramon, how did it start though? What was your first foray? Was it the tech blog or was it Smart Hustle? Remind me here.
Yeah, it was. And may I just go back and underline something you said? May I? It's just, I thought it was interesting, Phil, that you talked about you haven't sold them anything. That's so true, because I think that we're just talking about doing a bit more to be successful in business. So we can go for hours on that topic, but I think what Phil said is right. It's starting with having your tribe, and you can work a little harder, learn from Phil, a little smarter to do it right way. And then from that is making the offer. And because, the many small businesses that are struggling, that are at 30K, 40K, 50K, 100K, whatever, they're just trying to get it. You just need to tweak what you're doing a little bit. And then to the second point, I'm just repeating what you said, Phil, make that offer the right way. Many ways you can learn it. So genius, what you said, Phil.
Thanks.
But you asked Phil how it started. Yeah, for sure. That was one of the beginnings of it. So I've started 4 small companies, Phil. One was a technology consulting firm, just me, going online. I don't know, anybody remembers? I know you do, Phil, like the thick Microsoft Access book and other things. Before you Google it and print it out and went to your iPad, right? You would get the big, thick Sams with the publisher, and they probably still have it, like the big, thick book, how to open your PC. That was how Phil learned a bit there. Me, okay, how do I use my computer? Let me go buy a 3,000 page book.
Oh, at least, right? Yeah, 1,000 of which is the glossary. so that you understand what the heck the words are. Yeah, for sure, bro.
Exactly. Oh, the glossary, forget about it. So that's why I started. I had a small technology consulting business, just small business stuff, networking, and Microsoft Access comes to mind back then, databases and etc. So doing that, dissolved that business, Phil. Then, the second thing was a small biz technology.com. For whatever reason, I can get into that if you want, but for whatever reason, I got the domain in 1999, I think, of April, and started a blog, again, thriving, not thriving like Ariana Huffington's Thrive, not thriving like, CNET, millions of page views, but thriving for my little people. And 20 years ago in 2019, Phil, I sold it. So that was my second company. And then I had an event business. I did it with a friend of mine. And I say this respectfully. I got to be careful how I say this sometimes. But she was an older, skinny, white lady. And I'm a younger, by many years, skinny black guy. We just made such a cool pair. This is how we looked. But also, Phil, she had the numbers and accounting background. I was like, oh, who cares about numbers? But I was like, Marion, we need to have music. It got to be popping. We got to have the showmanship. And she was like, really? That's too. So we brought a good skill set. So that was the third business, my event business. And then today, Phil, Smart Hustle at smarthustle.com. So thank you for letting me share that.
Yeah. Well, I love that. And what you didn't say, though, is before you had the business, though, you worked for the UN.
Yes.
You got fired by the UN, which is pretty cool, man. That's a pretty cool story in between there, right? You got to interview Barack Obama. You talked. You got a little time with Ivanka Trump. I mean, these are pretty cool things, man. So, Ramon, were you? I mean, even before you started your business, man, did you always know that you had something that was valuable to people, or did you ever have imposter syndrome? Because a lot of people that know you now would be like, man, this guy is the most confident guy I've ever met. But did you ever doubt, man? Did you ever doubt?
Unfortunately, Phil, I still doubt. I'm getting out of it. As I said, I cry easily. And part of that, certain things trigger me even now, Phil. For example, I know I can feel like it's, how you feel the tears. They're in your knee. Then they go to your hip. They're going to your throat. So that's where I'm at right now. It's just like that. And I'm not making it up here. But for example, Phil, I don't spell well. I spell terrible. I can spell I think it's IT, but I can spell words like that. But but my spelling's bad. I know when I'm on stage, I slur over my words a bit. I get so animated. I jumble them a bit. Like my wife will say, Ramon, did you hear that podcast you were on? You stumbled over words or whatever. So what I'm trying to get at is that even today, Phil, I do struggle. But to answer the question you asked, like, did I always know? Not really. Looking back, Phil, I didn't know because I didn't have people around me to identify it then. And I want to shout out some good people. Yakov Urinsky, who's a tech guy today, who's my mentor I talk to. Another gentleman, Chidambaranathan. I call him my Indian guru. Ramon, you need to slow down. Don't be so angry. He passed away some years ago. But what I'm trying to get at, Phil, is that I think I had it in me for some time. Hence being fired at the UN, but only now with the hindsight of kind of reading some of the books we do, masterminds and things that I'm sure you do, I do now, being a little more mature, a little older, I'm almost 50, it's smarter. So I think, but my one memory I can remember is I wanted to be in the FBI. That's really what I wanted to do when I was a child. But I think that the skills were there, Phil, the tools were there around me, but as I got older, I learned how to use them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I would say the tools are either around us or they're in us.
Yeah.
And we do have to just learn how to put them together, right? We do have to just learn how to put them together and how to make them valuable. So I guess I'm encouraged to hear that still there's a little bit of doubt, because certainly I have it as well. I think anybody who doesn't is a bit of a narcissist, to be quite honest with you, because this is, truly, we were talking before we went on, there's new stuff that pops up all the time. And we have to choose. Do we want to play in it or do we not? Yeah. Am I willing to have beginner mind and play with it? Am I old geezer like me, right, and not want to play in it, or somewhere in the middle? So let's talk about that, man, because you're an Android guy. For those that are watching that have an Android, I'm sorry, you can't be on Clubhouse. So Ramon bought himself an iPad just for Clubhouse. So talk to me about that, man, because you're pretty locked into the Google ecosystem. Yeah. So what went through your head? Why is Ramon on Clubhouse?
Yeah, I think it started, Phil. Well, one, I'm not sure. I'm getting more clear as of the last few days, but I got it really, Phil. Don't tell anybody. This is just kind of between you and I, but it's really the FOMO, fear of missing out. I must say, Phil, you may be more disciplined. We've talked about some things offline. We'll see what Phil Germashek does in 2 or 3 months. But, but the FOMO was just eating away at me. Just Clubhouse. All my friends sending me 10 invites, 20 invites. Our buddy Mike McAllowitz, right? And many others, who maybe we look up to or read their books. Ramon, here's an invite. Ramon, here's an invite. I'm like, you know what? I can't stop. What is this? And so I went to the AMZ store, clicked on it, and bought my iPad. So today, though, Phil, I'm saying a few things, and this is, part of, we can talk about, we'll take this wherever you want. But regarding the business end of it, I'm seeing many of the brands I work with are asking me how to get on Clubhouse. So one tangent, not about me or whatever, but people asking for help. So why not monetize it? You and I are marketing people, and we have clients who look to us to do a variety of things, right? So that's one angle. Like, I need to know it so I can guide them. For my own personal brand, it's helpful. It's there. I'm not sure if it's going to change my life because, you and I have been online long enough. We have our platforms in LinkedIn and Twitter, other things. So it's Clubhouse, but I guess my fear, and tell me, Phil, what you think. We can do it live right now and hash this out. We can have like a ding, ding, ding. But I'm thinking I don't want a year to go by and wishing I was on it. And then I got to start a year or two from now. So I guess that's a small thing I'm thinking. If it does take off and becomes the next LinkedIn or Twitter, I as an influencer that we're called sometimes, I'd like to be able to have a few thousand people, have some cachet on there. So what do you think? Am I off base?
Well, so I think your first point is probably the most important point. You have an opportunity there to do some business. The people that you're working with are interested in asking questions. Mm-hmm. Of course, that's why you're playing with it, right? I can tell you that's initially why I got as involved in LinkedIn as I did. Yeah. People started asking me questions that I didn't know the answer to, that I knew that if I knew the answer to, I would be light years ahead of people.
You charge them,
right?
Send that invoice.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, right? I mean, truly, because I'm blessed that I can learn quickly and that my brain takes technology, marketing, and sales and business and mashes them all together, right? And that's why I would get there. But I can tell you, for the B2B crowd that is not going direct to consumer, Clubhouse is very weird, right? It's very foreign because it is almost like this conversation that we're having, except potentially we could bring people in.
Yeah.
But the difference is, and this is where I think a lot of challenges are going to come in, is that it is not yet recorded. And technically, according to their TOS, you're not supposed to record it. Now, that being said, I've watched people, Mitch Joel talked with Jeremiah Ouyang about it, right? They recorded an episode of Mitch's podcast. And of course, there's some tools somewhere that have hacked that together to make that work. And that's great, right? I mean, my challenge with that, my only challenge with that, and this is where I'm always, maybe I'm too much of a legalist, Ramon, and you'll have to talk me down.
Okay.
But I don't see that doing something that is against a platform's terms of service is ever going to be in my best interest. And as such, until Clubhouse offers native recording, I don't know that I can do it, man. I don't know that I can do it because I don't have time to I don't have time to have this conversation with you 6 times, right? I mean, I love you, man. I would spend the rest of my life hanging out with you. Let me be clear, right? I mean, you're my friend, right? But that's different. But I'm talking about if I'm talking to somebody that, frankly, I don't know that well, that I read their book and I'm like, oh, they're cool. I want to talk to them, put them on my show, right? That's cool. But if I got to do it again and again and again to re-record it, repurpose it, do something with it, I don't know, man. That real-time thing, I don't know. I just don't get it.
So it's a philosophy. Am I hearing you as I become the interviewer for 2 seconds? Am I hearing you? It's like Oprah's interviewing the star. And they're like, hold on 1 second, Oprah. Let me interview you. 2 questions I have for you, Oprah.
Right. Yeah, 2.
but seriously, Phil, so that's the more thing in the recording lends back the time. That's your disciplined mental challenge. Since it has to control me, Phil is deciding as of today, it's not for me. Am I repeating?
Yep, that's right.
Okay.
That's right. Yep. If I can't reuse, if I can't repurpose, if I can't do it again, right, it's hard. Now, that being said, I say that's a philosophical point. But realistically, I'm probably not going to go back and listen to anything that I record anyway.
Right. No, I hear you.
But I mean, I don't know, that's a Phil thing, right? Like I resisted memes for a long time, not because I thought they were bad. I actually think they're kind of funny, but I resisted taking celebrities' pictures and putting words on them because I'm always concerned that the DCMA is going to issue me a takedown notice.
Got it.
Right? And I've seen my friends get nailed by Getty Photos for, right? I mean, it's $11,000 a picture, man. They're not screwing around. And yes, normally they settle for about $400.
Right.
But if I get 100 pictures times $400,
I got it.
I'd rather take my $40,000 and come visit you for a week, right? I mean,
all day.
Right, all day. I mean, because they're not that good. They don't last that long, man. Yeah. Right? In any conversation, I don't know. That's just my philosophical bend on that. I probably will dip in deeper. Maybe you and I can do a clubhouse sometime. Maybe we'll do that.
And I'll tell you too. I'll just challenge you one more time. Yeah. One more thing, as I get my second question. You know, Clubhouse has the you have 7 invites. I have my second question that I'm taking over Phil's show for 30 more seconds. Is that I guess what I would encourage, Phil, you have a lot to say. You have a voice to say it. You have a lot of friends on there, clubs and other things that people will rise you up to the top. So that's my only thinking. I think it's something worth to consider, even if you don't invest having your own thing. And that's what I'm debating now. Should there be a Smart Hustle Ramon Ray platform? There's enough of our friends who will say, absolutely, Phil, add value to my conversation. So imagine once a week, once a month too little, but a few times a week, the players, and mutually in a good way, are saying, Phil, join my conversation with other players. Besides the ego boost, it builds that brand to a degree.
Sure.
And those IG DMs, you have that B2B brand who's like, Phil, could we have a conversation? And there goes another $50,000 contract.
Yeah. Could be. No, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point, right? That's a really good point. I'll putz around. So for you, we'll do that, right? We'll talk about that. And Ben is, of course, hearkening back to the beginning of our show here, where we're inviting HR into the conversation. That's why Ramon and I work for ourselves, Ben, just so you know. We are our own HR departments.
That's so right.
We've mutually offended each other in no particular way, and that's why we're here, right? But but that does get us back to the idea of celebrity CEO, right? The CEO does have to decide, do I invest this time? Do I invest this time? Do I do this? Right? And one of the things that I loved in your book is when you talked to Carol Roth, our friend from Chicago, and Carol said, if you don't have a process behind your celebrity CEO brand, you're just going to basically get exhausted. You're going to get wiped out. I mean, I'm paraphrasing. That isn't exactly what Carol said, but that's roughly what she said. So talk to me about your process, brother, because I know you've struggled as well as succeeded with some extra help here to build that process behind the scenes. So talk to us about the Ramon Ray empire, like who's behind the scenes instead of just smiling, wonderful Ramon.
I will tell you indeed. And I will say regarding the process and not process, just to, you're right on that, but I think it goes 2 ways. I think one part of it is the non-process part, even to the listening to, as you're looking to be the celebrity CEO, just taking your phone and doing whatever content you can, even that is a process in its own, but let's say it's not really a big process. That's good enough just to start. But part of the process, yes, some level of strategy I think is important. But yeah, so regarding smarthustle.com, what we do, we have a team of about 3. We have my marketing strategist. I just hired my son a few weeks ago to head marketing for Smart Hustle. I have a content manager. She manages our writers because we have our editorial process, our sponsored content, other things that our clients and or for my podcast and stuff. She manages that. Then I have my executive assistant and project manager. She manages our clients. And manages Ramon. So those are 3. And then 4th, we have an event manager. So that role is it's Liz Caruso. You may know the name, not sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so Liz and her team manage our events. We do 2 to 3 or so events per year. And that's our team of 4. And then in addition to that, we have a number of writers who, may go and come, but good people if they're hearing, but it's a little different role having writers. And then our video editor and our graphic designer been with me for about 3 years or so. So that's our team.
That's awesome, man. So how did you make the decision to hire your first person? Because that's a big struggle for a lot of businesses, right? Especially, again, right, as a celebrity, if you will, again, little C celebrity, someone who is probably really good at a bunch of stuff, but exceptional at 1 or 2, but still wants that control. How did you go about that, Ramon? How'd you hire that first person?
Part of the reason, Phil, I think of why I got Clubhouse was FOMO. All the ballers I talk to, and we're all ballers in one way, but meaning, certain people you reach out to, many of our mutual friends that we admire who've really had some true success. Hey, Phil, can I talk to you? Yes, Ramon, absolutely. Becky or John, their admin, could you please make this happen? I'm like, I'm seeing a trend here. I email, so-and-so as a big course or whatever. She's ball of work. We're friends though. Ramon, can I talk to you? Ramon, absolutely. Her admin, can you help make this happen? I'm like, okay. And so that was my journey 5 years ago. I went on Upwork, hired an executive assistant. People call them virtual assistants sometimes. I just don't like the word because we're all virtual. It's virtual, so I get it, but it doesn't have to be someone in the Philippines or India. But I hired an executive assistant, Phil, and it changed my life. And in my respect, there's a few different levels. Yes, transactional levels. I need you to type in my business cards or do some spreadsheet stuff. There's that video editing. That's why. 2 is a project manager though of your business, of your life-ish, to kind of manage your world. Hey, Phil, I want you to know I canceled your appointment in 2 weeks because you had a interview with Biden or Trump, whoever you want. So I canceled it. That proactively telling you what to do. That's level 2, which is important. And then the third level is really clear roles. I'm hiring an assistant though, who's managing client work. So is that helpful? But that's why I did it. Just I saw that people who were successful, they had an assistant. Now, everybody can't do it, Phil, because you may not have the money, whatever. But if your business is growing, you want to be at the point where you have someone who's helping you filter a variety of things, especially your calendar, your time.
Yeah, well, for sure. Once you build that relationship, now you have an opportunity for them, especially if you're clear in what's important to you, what's not important, right? What's a good opportunity? What's a waste of time? What can move? What can't move? That's why, even if you're using Calendly, right? Even if you're using a scheduling tool, it's still nice that someone else can look and say, you know what? We need to shift that. And I think that's the one thing you said. The second thing you said that I think is really important is that you had clear expectations and clear communications. Yes. And this is what I need. And I'm guessing that's grown over time, right? That's not you don't necessarily hire someone who is that executive admin assistant level. Right. You hire someone and then grow them in to see if they can actually do the work. And I would argue more importantly, do they fit with your brand? Do they fit with your style, right? Because you like me, man, I'm pretty wackadoo, right? I'm kind of energetic and yet sometimes maybe a little bit weird, right? Yes. Moody, whatever you want to call it. But somebody who gets that and understands that even though this looks like a podcast, perhaps this interview is more important than this business deal.
That is correct.
Because sometimes, to your point about FOMO, right? Sometimes we've got to get in front of those people because sometimes we are actually missing out. It's not just a fear of it. Sometimes we are missing out and we don't want to miss the best opportunities, but we have to train that. Yes, right? Correct. We have to explain that. We have to do that. So crystal clear communication on what matters, what doesn't, what can move, what won't move. Yes. How do we work that? That's good, man. I like that. That's helpful.
And I will add one more thing. The simple thing, Phil, regarding the executive assistant I have is that, so her role is expanded. She's now managing our client projects. It seems like Ramon's a double role, but that's because, meaning we're a small team. So, she can't do 100 different things, but she's managing client projects. And the thing is, her skill set, her gift is productivity. So it sounds, for half your audience are like, duh, Ramon, I've done that already. But she told me to color code my calendar. I've never done that, Phil. I'm sure I've heard it. Michael Hyatt or somebody I'm sure wrote about it. But now we're doing that, Phil. It's a X% game changer in my day. I can quickly look and see, red, client work, cannot change. Orange is things like this. If it had to change a few days ahead, I guess we can ask Phil, but it's pretty important. Then we have, I won't go to all the colors, but meaning just that helps me see my day. Oh, we got a red day today. Ooh, that's going to be intense. Or today's all green. Or, I don't got to do nothing. It's just I'm listening to other people. So that's how she's helped me with that little thing. Her expertise is that. Ramon, why are you shipping it this way? I've noticed this 100 times in your calendar. You should do this. Oh, and I'm like, wow, thank you. That's her genius.
Yeah, well, and she understands that. And then you've trusted her, right? You've entrusted her to say, hey, I'm going to give you this much space, and then this much space, and then this much space. So I dig that, man. I think that's so key. And that's a good reminder to me too on the color coding the calendar, right? Because often what I do is I color code based on where it comes from. So I've got 3 different email addresses. Okay. But that doesn't mean that they're all the same, right? Often they're prospect work for clients, prospecting for clients, closing business for stuff, right? And then stuff like this to keep my brand out there because, to that point, if we're invisible, well, we can't be celebrities then, right? I mean, all celebrities have to have some sort of platform. They have to have something that they share, somewhere that they add value to people that keeps them right here top of the brain to do that, huh?
Right. And those who don't want to do it, Phil, just to be clear, as we're diving into this, I think you don't have to choose to be a celebrity CEO, meaning I personally think it's good. That's my thing. But meaning there's word of mouth marketing. You're saying, hey, we have a book of X 27 clients. We're good with that. It's all word of mouth. And I have friends of mine, Phil, maybe common friends in our communities. They're master at sales. They have a tight engine. No, none of the stuff that we do. They're like mailing 100 associations. From that, 50 associations reply. From that, 20 they have phone calls with, and they close 5. That's their game, and they are masters at it. It's just not me. I'd rather just talk to 1 million people on my phone and randomly see what happens. But there's many ways to do it, but to Phil's point, that's why me and Phil do what we do. Our brand's out there. We have a community. We feed the people, and with honor, they like us, and we serve them that way. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And it's even better if you can combine the two of them, right? If you can combine some outbound as well. Yeah. And really that's why I built my new business, Ramon, right? That's why we're doing that, because to that point, these are, I don't want to say accidental exposures, right? But they are kind of accidental, because who knows who's going to watch this? I mean, I can't force people to watch it. But that being said, when people then go to your LinkedIn profile, they go to your Twitter, they go to your Facebook, they go to your website, right? And you talk about in the book about how you should get your name.com if you can, to make it all about you instead of just your business. Because really all about you is, hopefully, if you're in the service of others, right? It's all about your potential customers, right? You have that. It's easier to remember that you have that than it is that, oh yeah, what's your business name again? Yeah. And so, but that's tough, right? At some point, you got to pass that over. At some point, you got to pass that down. Even if you're the front, you can pass that on. And so that's interesting, man.
And Phil, tell me if you agree with this, Phil. Do you agree that for most of us, our business name is irrelevant? And again, if I'm wrong, feel free to push back, because it relies really on who we are. Meaning Volkswagen or Mercedes, they're so big. I guess it's like nobody cares who's behind it. Nobody cares who they hired to turn the screw or who's leading it. It's a whole nother scale, except for, Amazon's and Jeff Bezos' footprint. But meaning for me, come on, Phil, there's 10,000, including you, of Ramones. Meaning we speak on different things, but who speak on marketing? Mark Schaefer. There's so many other great people out there, right? But it's just, I have my way. I got my way of doing it. Hence the brand.
I think it's both.
Is important.
Yeah. I think it's both, right? But the brand name itself doesn't matter. Just that you have something behind you that you can do, right? So you could call it Ramon Ray Inc., right? That's just as good as Smart Hustle, if you ask me, right? Just as good. But you have to have something that you can stand on, right? That's the thing, right? If we think about this, as we're talking, to small business owners, even as salespeople here, they're listening and like, what do I do here? So here's the thing. You have to be known for something first.
Yes.
Or you don't have any business, right? Jay Bear, known for amazing content, right? Convince and Convert, great brand. But I'm just going to be honest, man. It's Jay Bear to me. Yeah. And I know people on his team. And I love his team. I have mad respect for his team, right? But Jay is the lead dog. Yes. And I think that's where, to your point, as a business owner, as someone, whether you like the celebrity status or not, people are looking to you to lead. Yep. Even if it's just the 50 people that you speak at once a year at your Chamber of Commerce event.
Right.
People are looking for you, right, to show up in your neighborhood. I'm coaching a guy named, by the name of Andy, who's a wonderful financial advisor who only posted his company-sponsored content. And he's the nicest guy ever, right? He's a celebrity in his city. Super celebrity, super great guy. Love this guy. I've known him forever and ever and ever. And one day he said, so, hey, I get like 1 like on all my stuff. What do I do? I said, Andy, dude, just post about you. Like, where are you going for lunch? Where are you going for dinner? Where do you go on vacation? Where do you recommend people eat? What do you recommend? Like, forget stocks and bonds and mutual funds. Nobody gives a crap about that. They know you're good at that.
Right.
They want to know you, brother. They want to know you. And I didn't say be the celebrity CEO, but I should have, right? And should have given them your book, because that's it, man. That's the whole jam, right? People give a shit about you.
That's right.
And yeah, and it doesn't matter what brand that stands behind you, just that you have a brand behind you. So I guess that's a long way to say I completely agree with you.
Yeah, no, listen, I get it. Right? It's a version. It's a Phil version. I love it. I love it.
Well, I'm passionate about that, right? Because I've jacked around for a long time, Ramon. I'm just going to tell you, man, and we'll get back to you in a sec here. So I have screwed around for a long time picking the perfect business name. Do you know it doesn't matter? To your point, right? Exactly what you said. Nobody cares. I'm going to get 13, 50, 12 people that follow my LinkedIn page, maybe 100. You know, because I asked them to, not because they care, right? Because they're nice, they're my friends, right? If I asked you, you would do it, just like I would do it for you, right? That's just how this works. But let's just, you know, who cares? I mean, Ramon, the only reason I know Smart Hustle is because of your awesome conferences. I had totally forgotten that you own smarthustle.com. I thought it was just that, right? And you're my friend, dude, right? And I know we talk all the time, all the damn time, right? And if that's the case with someone that is, you know,
in the club, right? In the circle.
Right? Yeah, that's a friend, right? Someone that I admire, someone I care about, right? Someone that I want to win. If that's the truth, well, then what the heck, man? Then what are we doing here trying to pick the perfect name? And, you know, I guess maybe you're giving me therapy, man. I probably got to send you a check when we're done here. This is really good.
And which leads us to another thought is that the book behind me, what's the guy? Oh, John Warlow, who talks all about scaling businesses, selling your company. Now that's where, man, this is a beautiful conversation where the morph happens where it does matter in a way. Let's say I wanted to sell Smart Hustle as I've gone through selling other businesses, is that's where the gold handcuffs or whatever, it's tied to Ramon. It's about Ramon. It's about his face. That's where it's a negative, meaning, so there are pros and cons, but for most of us smaller businesses, it's us. But now if I want to sell it, I'm going to have to start to make moves to separate, to prove to the buyer, no, listen, Smart Hustles, just like CNET, Business Insider, Entrepreneur Inc., it's an asset that can sell and you can take Ramon out. So that's the pros and cons, I think, Phil, of
we hope that's true. And we have to make that true because what we have to do is we have to help others in the organization as we scale also become celebrities at what they do. We have to help them speak at events. We have to help them write articles. We have to help them do video. We can't have them dependent on me, on you, and your business, right? You have to help them get out there. But that's also, you know, many would say, well, that's a risk. Well, what if they get so big they want to leave? And I would ask the question, well, what if they stay so small that they stay?
Ooh.
Right? I mean, there's no value there. Yeah. There's no value there, right? I mean, because truly then Gina is interchangeable with Tommy, who's interchangeable with Ramon, who's interchangeable with Phil, who's interchangeable with, you know, with Sally. Yep. Well, that who cares then, right? Like then you're commodity.
That's right.
Then you're commoditized business. But if you can help your team stand out, so if you're a CEO thinking, oh, good, I've got celebrity status, but I want to sell, well, you got to build the process behind it, and you got to help your team shine. You got to put some of them out front, right? You got to let that happen because what I often forget is to recognize those kind of behind me, right? That, to your point, I've got 9 people. You mentioned one of them by name that work on your team, and I would bet that might be how the team wants it. But if you wanted to sell Smart Hustle, you'd have to start elevating some of them. Yeah, to be a little bit different. So that's
correct. No, you're right, Phil. I think it's powerful, and I think to your point, and it goes back to that's another thing which we're subliminally saying. And thanks, Eric, for being here as well.
Right?
The comment is that tell us what you really think, Eric. Is that depends on what you want in life. That's the bottom line. So for me, Phil, I'm pretty clear. I want to be in a home office forever. I want to have a lot of time with my family and go to mission field and serve others. That's what I want to do. And so I don't want to build a $3 million, $5 million agency. I'm saying that number. Some people may think it's low, but that's high for us small businesses, 3 to 5 million. It could probably get to, my point being, I want it to be a certain way. So that's what I'm thinking now as I'm thinking of the future. What do I want? So that's the bottom line.
Yeah. Build the business you want, build the brand you want, and then do everything you can to get those two aligned. Yes. So that you can move forward, right? That I would argue that's probably the best way to be a celebrity CEO, so that you control, right? You control your own channel, your own content, your own destiny. You control how you do that. And I love what you said about your mission. And I think that's so important. And I want to encourage folks, if you're listening to this, I want you to hear that. What Ramon said is, I'd like to be of service. I'd like to serve. I'd like to be out in the mission fields. I want you to hear that. Not because that needs to be your mission or your purpose, but because I know, Ramon, I know you, man. That is what drives you. Your goal, the reason that you want to continue to do things is to be of service.
That's right.
You want to serve, you want to help, and that means out in the mission fields. And that's really powerful. And that's an important reminder, again, for folks listening, for me as well. We need to think about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do we really want to do?
I love what I do. You give me the mic, but really, in the short and the long term and short term, it's just I know we both love the business of what we do, but it's just the end goal, or not the end goal. What I want to do more and more. And Phil, I think the saying, the Bible says, "Love of money, root of all evil." But as we all know, without money, you just certain things you can't do. So yes, I would love to be able to be the one, if I can make that destiny happen, to have the wealth to do what I want for my family. And then part of that as well, to build up others. So we're getting way beyond it, which I'm happy to, but that is part of, I think that's part of business. I think to some degree, Phil, if you're working and slaving forever, it's no good. But I think seasons are good for that. Phil knows it. I'm sure I know it. Tough times, yucky times, you cry, things don't go right. I've been through that. And there's seasons where you're going to have to grind for a year, 2 or 3. But the end result, I want to make some fat profits, big profits, to live the life I want. I have no shame about it. That's just the bottom line.
Well, and so you can make a big impact.
Yes.
Right. Let's be clear, right? Because whether we like it or not, the scoreboard that most of the world lives by is the fact that I've got the cash to lay down to move the ball forward. And that's not to say that we do that at the expense of others.
Not at all.
To be really clear here, that is not what we're saying. We are saying, right, as you make more, you're able to give more.
That's right.
As you do more, you're able to do more for others. And I think that's great, man. So Ramon, your son's in the business now.
Yeah.
That's pretty freaking cool.
It is.
What's he doing? Talk to me more about what he's doing and how that happened. I mean, did you interview him? Did he have to, did you measure his LinkedIn profile? How'd you do this?
He's been interviewed for about 25 years, 26 years. But bottom line is, listen, he's a marketer. He is one of us, Phil. He's one of us, arguably, in whatever sense of the word. He's started one business, a project, whatever you want to call it, 2 things. He started, made some good money. And he just said, Dad, I'd love to help you grow what you're doing. So that's a bunch of other details in between, but that's the bottom line of it. So right now, he's head of marketing for Smart Hustle. So, as you get it, we're an agency of some sort. There's Ramon, the speaker and influencer, but then we have the brands we work with on content and more. So his job is really, how can we, 4 metrics, right? Trying to Gino Wickman's traction and other things. I'm trying to be a better leader. His 4 metrics really are to build the email subscriber list. This is kind of a marketing show in a way.
Yep,
so
sure.
Build the email subscriber list and other things to build the boat, social and etc. Then 2, we're launching again Smart Hustle Plus, a membership paid community. So his goal is to get that back launching again, because I've tried it, but the focus and things, but he's a master at that. And then more. So that's his key metrics. And then to kind of it's only been a few weeks, but partnering as it were with me to grow the whole company. And it's nothing just like having somebody who, I posted it yesterday on Facebook, Phil. I never understood why founders wanted partners, but now that I kind of have one I have a great team, great writer, great content editor, but it's just nobody there that's like locked in on the next 5 years in that way. It's just different when it's family, unless they come in as a partner and it's like, me and Phil are going to build this and the exit strategy. Beyond that, people are employees or staff. That's just how it is. Nobody's going to feel it. Like, I work for Meineke, tire company. If I don't, I'm not a family member. So
yeah, okay. So, Gary Vee talks about that all the time, right? He says, stop expecting your team to act like owners when you pay them like employees, when you treat them like an employee. And, I was always raised, and Dick Strong put this in me, that I need to think like an owner. I need to think like an owner. Now, that being said, that's think like an owner, maybe not act like an owner. So perhaps there's a step in there. As we get people, if we see that they do think like an owner, if they're bought in, then we can bring them in as partners, to your point. Or perhaps it's a family business. And I love that for you, man. That's great. So 25 years old.
Yeah.
My goodness.
So a little older than that, 26. But you're right. And
still.
And I think I'll say another thing. I'd love your help on that, Phil, is that I'm thinking about the people on my team who do have a long-term vision. Should there be incentives? I mean, let me rephrase that. There is incentives, period. Even let me go step back again. So level 1, I'm doing better as a leader to delight and surprise my team. Just that. I only did it a few weeks ago, Phil, just a few weeks ago, but I put into my calendar the anniversary dates of my team. So on the anniversary date, I just send a little box. So that's step 1, which even delights people, whether they're going to be with me or not. That's 1. Then 2, though, there's some people, like I mentioned, 5 years, someone's been with me. I'm thinking, you know what? If she has plans to be with me, even for the next 3 to 5 years, that's all I can ask. Should I say, hey, listen, I'd love to give you 5K, 10K. I don't know, just something to not partner, but that's just my heart. So that's what I'm going through now.
Yeah, no, I dig that. I think that's important. Recognize the anniversary date, but I'd challenge you to take that one step further.
Okay.
Find out what your team's most important day is to them.
Okay.
Maybe it's their birthday. Maybe it's their spouse's birthday. Maybe it's the birth of a kid. If you've ever adopted a kid, gotcha day is a big deal. Mm-hmm. It could be the day, that they overcame cancer. Mm-hmm. It could be the day that they, right? So I would encourage you, just find that out, add that to your calendar as well.
Good point.
And then you don't have to give a gift on that day, but I would encourage you to recognize it.
Yes.
Right? To just take the time and say, hey, Ramon, I know today's a really important day to you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Phil.
Really,
no,
right? And really mean it. And so that's where I think recognizing others in the way that they want to be recognized is probably the biggest gift we can give them to the things that are important to them. And as we want to grow a team, right, that's really important. And then also, if you back up, right, the most important day to many of these folks is the day, not like long-term forever, but in your business, is the day that they accepted the offer, not the day that they started with you, the day that they accepted the offer, because between offer day and first day is buyer's remorse. Is this the right choice? Right? And customers too, right? Onboarding, getting them between I wrote a check and I'm starting work with you, that space is all buyer's remorse. There's doubt. So we have to take the time to do that. We have to take the time to think about that. And I would say, as the celebrity of your company, it's coming from you, brother.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Come from you.
And I remember, Phil, when I used to work at the United Nations, my French boss, Jacques Fomoran, bonjour, he put his hand on my shoulder, this shoulder. He's standing over there. He put his left hand on my right shoulder and just said, Ramon. That's kind of a Spanish accent, but Ramon, I appreciate you. I'm screwed. Forget the accent. Ramon, I appreciate you. Thank you for what you're doing. Because we had some hard times, not between me and him, but some things kind of went on, precursor to me being fired, as it were, things like that. But he was a good guy. It wasn't about him. He was a good guy. It's just, to your point, Phil, I'm saying it clunky, but to your point, I remember that touch and his saying thank you. It meant I would have jumped off the building for him.
Yeah. Well, it's a big deposit, right? It's a big deposit, and that's important. So as we kind of wrap this up, brother, let's bring it home, right? You gave us, you said you had 2 pieces of great advice, and the first one you gave us was asking for a smile before you ask for a sale.
That's right.
What's the second piece of advice?
Oh yeah, that second one was the aspect of that leverages into build the community. Focus on, and again, there's many different ways to do it. You can be direct sales, you can do cold calling, all kind of things. But for me and what we're talking about today, the celebrity CEO model is build the community. Build the community. Just get people to say, hey, Phil, what's up? Hey, Phil, I like you. I'm not buying yet. Phil, can I shake your hand? Hey, Phil, can I have a selfie with you? Hey, Phil, I'd like to get on your email newsletter, right? The marketing stuff. Just do that. Once you do that, then over time, you earn the right to and the trust to get people to buy from you. So that's the 2 things.
Awesome. So asking for the sale, have to make more offers, folks. That's really important, right? But before you do that, ask for that smile. Give them a smile before you ask for the sale, and then build the community. And you just might be a celebrity CEO like my good friend Ramon Ray here. Ramon, as always, brother, it is a pleasure and a privilege to be with you. RamonRay.com is where you find us awesome. But if you want to actually get deep here, this goes right to Amazon. This is super simple, celebrityceo.com. You get a copy of the book. He was kind enough to actually mention me in his book, which I don't know that I deserve, but I appreciate more than you know, brother. Thanks for your time today, as always, Ramon. It's always a joy to be with you, friend.
Be blessed.
You too. And thanks, everyone, for watching, for listening. Get out there and ask for some smiles.